Hello, students. Welcome to another episode of Jay's Learning School, where I help you to understand and speak better English. On today's episode, we're going to learn ways to describe school. School is a place where many people go here in this country and in other countries, and it's very important to know how to speak and describe schools. Now, before we get into today's episode, I want you to know that subtitles are available. And if they're not on, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can turn subtitles on. Also, if you're not a subscriber, I want to invite you to become a subscriber by hitting that subscription button and the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload a free English lesson. And to help me out, if you learn at least one thing, please hit the like button as well. So school is a place where people go to learn and acquire knowledge. School, I believe, should first start in the home, but in an organized situation or in society, school is a place where people can go from being a toddler, such as preschool, to middle school, high school, even university, and at the college level, again, to learn and acquire knowledge. So let's look at some words that you can use to describe school that are very noteworthy and important. Elementary. Elementary. Elementary is simply a school that is for small children, usually from ages 5 to about 12 years old. In this country, elementary is from kindergarten to about 6th or 7th grade. And here, children learn the basics and the fundamentals of English, of learning math, putting sentences together. They learn how to communicate with other kids in a social aspect, whether it be through recreation or in the classroom in a group setting. So your child will go to elementary school here in this country. Elementary. High school is more or less for teenagers, usually in this country from age about 13 to 18 is when they graduate. High school, the learning is a little bit more accelerated. They're there longer for usually about 8:30 to maybe 3 o'clock to 3:30, Monday through Friday. High school also has high school amateur sports. Basketball, football, volleyball, flag football, lacrosse, and some schools even have swim teams and track teams. And there they can learn how to perform in an athletic capacity. And if they're good enough, they can continue their athletics at the next level and possibly get what is called a scholarship, which will help them to pay for their education. Again, high school. High school is usually for teenagers. College. You can be a teenager, and in some instances, you have children that are pretty smart. They have college classes or college courses. Now, they may not necessarily go to the college or university because the college or university is usually set aside for adults. Colleges and universities are paid education. And so you have to pay a tuition, usually by semester. Sometimes the college or university may have an annual tuition, but more than likely in this country, you pay for college or the university at the semester stage every 3 months or 4 months. College and university classes are larger. They can go anywhere from 15 all the way up to 100 people in a class. Most college and universities are set up in lecture style. So that means the student would go to the class and they would sit there for an hour to 2 hours and listen to the teacher lecture. College or university. Technical school, technical college, or tech. That is a part of education where people go and learn a trade. Now, in technical school or at a technical university, They will have time in the classroom, but the primary objective for technical school is for people to learn a trade. In my opinion, I believe technical college is very, very valuable because you learn certain things such as plumbing. You can learn how to weld or how to become an electrician. You get to learn hands on how to drive an 18-wheeler or a freight truck. And so there are many different trades that men and women can learn in technical school. Oftentimes, a tech college or a tech university will have programs that last 2 years. And then, if they want to further their education, they would go to a 4-year school, like we just talked about, college or university. But I like personally technical school because you can learn a trade and immediately start earning money. People go to technical schools to learn how to become a paramedic. People go to technical schools to learn how to become a registered nurse or a nurse practitioner. So there are many different avenues that you can take, and technical school is usually not as expensive as a college or university. Homeschool. Homeschool. In this country, homeschooling is when a parent or a group of parents choose to teach their children inside of the home. Often, homeschooling back in the day was looked upon, but now homeschooling is now becoming the preferred method of education for children and teenagers. Homeschooling provides not only the equivalence of learning to many children, depending on what they're being taught, but it also gives the opportunity for students to learn at a smaller pace or slower pace, shall I say, as well as do more hands-on activities. Homeschooling can be free or homeschooling can be paid for if you find a group of people that are doing homeschooling. Homeschooling also gives an advantage to children, in my opinion, because it keeps children away from some of the things that they may get introduced into when they go to a public school. Because homeschools, they're actually a little sheltered. And so you are able to protect your children and mold their minds a little bit better, as well as you can do so the way you see fit or what's beneficial for the child, more so where a public school will be more inclusive to the things that's going on in that day and time. Public school. Public schools are open to the general public. Public schools are funded by the state or by the local and federal government. So there are certain things that must be taught because it is a public school. Public schools can be a little bit unfair because usually when it comes to the public schools, at least in this country, the wealthier the area or the community, the better the public school is. The poorer the community or the area, then usually the worse the public education is. Now, of course, it is not the same in all, and that is not to make a generalization, but statistics show that usually wealthier communities and zip codes have better public schools than public schools that are in lower income and inner city schools. But public schools also get to teach children, teenagers, and young people the basics and fundamentals about learning and education. One thing that I feel is advantageous more so concerning homeschooling versus public schooling is that there's really not much life skills being taught in the public school in now day and time. In public schools, many people don't get to learn the basics of how to manage money. They don't get to learn about taxes. But in homeschooling, you can make sure you teach these life skills to children. I am a product of public schooling, and so I'm thankful for my education. But as I became older, I learned some of the advantages and disadvantages of public school versus homeschooling. Another way to describe school, especially in this country, is private school. Now, private school is not open to everyone like a public school. Private schools have a tuition, somewhat like colleges and universities and technical schools. So, from an early age, you would have to start paying for private school education. Now, private schools usually have highly educated young people and young men. They're usually exposed to more in a private school. So it does have its advantages, but again, private schools, you will have to pay a tuition. Private schools, the students are known for wearing uniforms. They want to make sure that they are all on the same page and uniform when it comes to how they look and carry themselves. Private school. One way you might describe school is being empty. Excuse me. School sometimes can be empty based upon what is going on in a personal life or around the country. Last year, when all the schools were on lockdown here in this country, public schools and private schools were empty. Okay. Sometimes schools are empty due to sickness or illness. Schools are empty when there are certain holidays. So a child may come home and say school was empty or there was no one there on today. Empty is a way to describe the school. Inspiring. Many students go to schools that have inspiring teachers. I can remember a teacher who was inspiring to me when I was in the 3rd grade, 5th grade, and in college. There are some teachers, they go the extra mile and they make such an impression on you and they inspire you to be productive or successful. I hope when you watch my channel, you are inspired to speak English better. You are inspired to watch my videos every single day. So school can be inspiring. It depends on the teacher, how they're teaching. It depends on how the teacher is communicating. It depends on how the teacher can relate to the student. So school definitely can be inspiring to children, teenagers, and to adults. Sadly, some schools or classes can be boring. When a class is boring, it's unable to hold your attention. When a class is boring, you're usually nodding off or going to sleep. When a class is boring or school is boring, you'll see students doodling or writing on their paper things that have nothing to do with what they're being taught. Oftentimes, when class is boring, you begin to gaze off into a distance. If there are windows in the class, you'll begin to look out the windows and you'll begin to imagine something in your mind. Your body is in the class, but your mind is somewhere else. When it's like that, the class or the school is boring. Some children act out because their teacher is boring. Some people skip school because class is boring. On the other hand, class can be fun. Learning can be fun. Learning can be motivating. And so one objective that I have here on Jay's Learning School is for class to be fun. In order for class to be fun, sometimes the teacher may interject a joke. Sometimes I may use a picture that will cause a certain reaction. There are many different ways to make class fun. One way is for it to be engaging. If you would leave a comment on today's lesson, that would help make teaching and learning fun. Another way to describe school is school being closed. Here in this country, schools have closures for a number of reasons. One of the most popular reasons schools close is because of the weather. Here in the state of Georgia, we are known for having humid and sunny weather year-round. During the winter months, it does get cold. Like this week, it should be in the 20s, their forecast says. But oftentimes, we'll get just a little bit of ice on the road. And if we get a half an inch of ice or snow anywhere, Schools will close. There'll be no bread at the grocery store, no eggs, no milk. Everything shuts down. And on the local news, what they'll have is an announcement of local school closures. And schools usually close here in this country because the school buses do not want to find themselves driving on roads that have bad conditions. The school buses carry a number of children. Some people bring their children to school, and the schools don't want to be responsible or put parents in a bad predicament where they could have an accident. So there will be school closures. Federal holidays are other times that schools close in this country. Martin Luther King Day. Then you have Thanksgiving holidays. Then you have Christmas holidays. So there are a number of different times where schools will be closed. We saw when the schools were in lockdown, all of the schools closed, and then they went to online education. So one way to describe school is school closed? Another way to describe school is by saying it is co-ed. Now, a co-ed school is when there are boys and girls in the school. There are some schools in this country to where they're strictly all boys schools, but then there's some schools to where they're all girls schools. And then there are co-ed schools where there is a mixture of both. And so if you're going to a private school, you would ask an administrator, is the school co-ed? Okay. And finally, summer school. One way to describe school is summer school. Usually people go to summer school when they have to catch up or try to retake a particular subject that they fail or did not score high in. But summer school can also be used to get ahead so you can graduate early. Summer school usually only lasts about a month and a half, and so you have to learn at a quick pace. Summer school. Kids ask their parents, do I have to go to summer school? Or the parent may say, you're going to summer school. Summer school usually has a fee, but in some cases, summer school may be free. After school programs. You may ask an administrator at the school, are there any after school programs? So the school closes at 3:30, but you don't get off work until 5 o'clock. An after school program would be a place that your child or teenager can go to where they can have activities to keep them occupied until an adult is able to pick them up. Some after school programs are punishment, such as detention for certain schools. So that may be considered an after school program. Sports are considered extracurricular or after school programs. That's going to be it for today's lesson. I certainly hope you have learned something, especially how to describe school in many different ways when it comes to speaking English. I would love to hear a comment from you. Let's interact. Leave me a comment down below about what you learned or what stuck out most to you about today's lesson. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the like button and share this episode with a friend that is trying to speak better English. In case you did not know, I do have a podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can simply go down to the links in the description and you can listen to English lessons from your mobile phone. I hope you join me on my next episode where I'm able to teach you how to speak better English right here on Jay's Learning School. Have a wonderful day.